What's up? What's up? Real MVPs. We will be live for it, Dave. We will share this. Welcome into MVP Sports Live, the sports show here on MVP. And I'm joined with my beautiful co-host, Dave Elster.
Hey, everybody.
Couple things. Number one, I know some of you are sitting here being like, I was lied to. I did not expect to see Ricky's big old face here. He told me Thursday, and that was it. Soapy had some things to come up, so it's Dave and I doing some NBA today. Also, to start the show, Dave, some people might not like this, Dave, because we ain't getting to the point.
We don't get to the point.
To those people, I say, you've never listened to a podcast before. We were talking about hair care, and you were telling me that guys have been doing it wrong. We've been taking care of our hair the wrong way.
We've been marketed to so often with all of like the bro fucking shit, and it's just like it doesn't feel as good.
Is that what you mean by bro? Axe?
No. Well, I mean, like there's definitely a bro culture around like a lot of the skin and hair care products for guys, and like I was always a Garnier Fructis guy because like I was a swimmer. That stuff, kind of counteracted the daily drowning of chlorine in my hair. Yeah. And like that was a great product, and I had no problem with that. But
that's the one with they had like the kids stuff where the bottle looks like the fish, right?
Yeah. That was a kid's bottle. Yeah. I with kids bottle, but that was their brand.
As a kid, we used the bottle when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It had a little like flip top.
That one, anybody use it, whatever. But like I've been switching through a couple of them trying to find something good now that I've been growing up my hair. And like a lot of stuff made for men kind of product stuff. It sucks dick. It's terrible as far as hair care. Like my hair feels awful after using it. Switch over to some more pricey, more women-centered marketed, kind of stuff for shampoo and conditioner. Hair's great.
Yeah,
hair's great.
My entire life, because yet again, mom buys the stuff. I've always used it. I've always been a Paul Mitchell guy. Sponsor. Like that's good. The shampoo I've used my entire life because that's just what my mom bought.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
expensive though. I'm finding that
it's so expensive. They're like $50 a bottle sometimes. Like the big bottles I'm talking about. Like
that's exactly
$50 a bottle. And it's like I remember the one time I was a kid, my mom bought it. I'm like, you just spent $100 on 2 bottles of shampoo. She's like, well, how often do you use it? I was like, there's got to be cheaper ones out there. She's like, do you like the shampoo? I'm like, I like the shampoo.
Works great. Hair feels great. I mean, you got to pay up sometimes for the good shit.
But we were being lied to. No Old Spice, no Axe. Yeah. You were talking about Irish Spring being
Irish Spring is potentially like the worst thing in the world. Yeah, I mean that stuff. A, it smells terrible. B, it doesn't feel good. And C, it smells terrible. Why would you want to do that to yourself?
It just looks like green sludge coming out of the fucking bottle.
No, it's disgusting.
But we're not talking about hair care today on the show, We're talking about the NBA, talking about some coaching firings that could happen because, you got the best way to bring up the mood, Dave, is to talk about all the bad things that can happen to franchises after the season's over. Also, we're going to take a look at the Pacers draft as we continue to go through every team in the NBA and kind of predict and see where their draft could go. Before we get into everything, though, housekeeping's easy. Discord, you guys know the deal. Greatest community in the universe. Join us today if you're not in it. Link down below if you're on YouTube, !Discord. If you are on Twitch, if you want to support us, patreon.com/MVPvids, or throw us a sub on Twitch where we are live every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. We're also at MVP Sports on YouTube. Also, thank you to our Patreon sponsor, Pat Hill. So, Dave, with all that out of the way, also NBA today, MLB tomorrow, NBA on Friday. That's the rest of the week.
Nice.
Let's talk about some coaching firings. And the first one, I just like, to me, the most intriguing one that I feel like we bring up every single year.
Well, the tweet. Because that gave us our laundry list of coaches.
So you're talking about the Shams tweet that says, inside look at coaches on the potential hot seat as the NBA playoffs nears. Blazers, Terry Stotts. Bucks, Mike Budenholzer. Pacers, Nate Bjorkjian, as we're calling him in the Discord, Bork Laser, Nate Laser, because he's Bork, and Wizard Scotty Brooks, that's from Shams, that he tweeted out that. The first name he lists was the one that I found out about till Soapy sent me that tweet, where even on the NBC Sports Edge, Dave, it says Blazers are increasingly expected to part ways with Terry Stotts after this season, according to Shams and Sam Amick from The Athletic. Let's start there, because this is a team where I feel like every year when the Blazers don't lead up to the expectations we had for them, we always say, should they fire Terry Stotts? And we all go, maybe? Like, I don't think we've ever had a season where we're like, yeah, he should be fired. It's more of like well, what do you expect him to do on this team? Do Dame and CJ really work together?
Yeah, turns out when you have two guards under 6'4", who both ball handle, and your entire offensive scheme is ISO, ISO, ISO. Not necessarily sure how you're going to overcome what is known as Murderer's Row in the Western Conference. So, like, I get it. They've been cursed with injuries as well over the last 5 years, probably. I know at least the last 3 years, but it feels like forever. It's just a situation where I don't think that there's anything more he can do that will help them win more games. He's had a couple different versions of this roster. They've made adjustments. They want to attack the wing position this offseason, adding in Boko, adding in DJJ from the Miami Heat. Like, they went and got athletic wings who can defend. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem still lies in the fact that Dame is their primary ball handler, CJ is their secondary, and then they have literally nothing else after that. It really is part roster construction and part maybe holding on too hard to guys who should have been moved on from. You didn't want to offend Dame. CJ's his best friend, but like, you're not going to win with that tandem. And we've known that for a while. And the fact that they haven't made a change there means you would think your head coach would make some adjustments, try to do some things to maybe change the situation up instead of running into the same brick wall the same exact way every single year.
Well, and I mean, I'm happy you used the brick wall analogy, because I'm looking at his years. They have made the playoffs, so he's been there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is his 13th year as head coach of the Blazers. They have missed the playoffs 3 times. And out of the 10 other years, 9 other years, this is the 10th. They've lost in the first round, 5 times, and they've made the semifinals twice. Their best year was in 2018, 2019, before we even knew what COVID was, where I'm looking at that playoff bracket. It's like they had the best playoffs that they possibly could. They beat the OKC Thunder in 5 games. They have a great series with Denver that goes 7 games. And then it's like they run into the buzzsaw, which was the Golden State Warriors. Like, it's one of the, like, I look at that and that season alone and I go, what'd you want them to do? Like, Steph and Clay beat them. Like, the Warriors were one of the best teams we've ever seen. But, like, it's all the other ones of, like, why are you continuing to lose in the first round? Is it the coach? Is it the roster construction? I think it's kind of a little bit of both.
Why do you not change up what you're doing on the court? I don't think they've had a different offense since Dame's been there. I think it's been the same exact offensive sets since Dame has been there, and I think it's the same problems on the defensive side. Cough, since Dame's been there. So if you have one of these extremely talented scoring guards out there, I know he's a point guard, but like a guard position who is a scorer primary, you have to have somebody who can defend next to him. We see that with Steph. You have Clay. You have Wiggins now who can defend out there and help out. I think that's the problem is Dame is such an absolute stud of a scorer. He's been, a top 5 point guard, top 3 point guard probably the last 5 years. Yeah. But the talent doesn't match, how you win games. And that's the problem. I mean, he's a very good player, but he's not going to win a championship.
Yeah, with and Eric brings up is it Stott's fault that CJ and Dame can't play defense in the backcourt? I feel like it's like, do I think Stotts is a bad coach? No. Do I think that both parties are at fault? Yeah, because you make a point. Like, obviously, if something's not working, you change. People who repeat the same thing over and over and over, you're never going to see results.
Definition of insanity, right?
Yeah, and the front office, I feel like the front office and Stotts, it's one of those classic where it's like the front office and the coach are not on the same page. Maybe that's different. I'm seeing a quote here from the Athletics report where it says, sources say Blazers chairwoman Jody Allen, who took over for her brother Paul, when he passed away in 2018, has become increasingly focused on the Blazers' future this season. What's more, the absence of fans inside the Moda Center for so much of the season meant Stotts was being closely monitored by ownership inside a fishbowl environment that didn't help his cause. One thing I'm going to say, I mean, really, I kind of hate that last thing of like, oh, because there's no fans, I can now focus on the coach. It's like, no, you should be able to focus on the coach, even if there's fans out there. It then goes on to say, among potential candidates for the Blazers, Lakers assistant Jason Kidd, Hawks interim Nate McMillan, Sixers assistant Dave Yeager, Clippers assistant Chauncey Billups, and Spurs vice president of basketball operations Brent Barry. Any of those guys, do they tickle your fancy if you're the Blazers? Because I got maybe one of them. One of them tickles my fancy, and it's maybe Nate McMillan.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem is he went from a floor raiser with the Indiana Pacers, who seemed to hit his plateau as well. But now we see him with the Hawks and a more talented roster, and they are thriving. And that's the question of, like, you have to eye test what were the results in Indy and why were those the results? And then how come it's dramatically different now for Atlanta as he comes as an interim? And could he sustain that if they went a different direction? Maybe he could be stolen away from them. I like McMillan. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
He used to be the Blazer head coach in 03 to 2012. Like before he was with the Pacers, he was with the Blazers. Now, is that going to be good or bad for him? I don't know.
I can't say I love the fit.
Are there any of those coaches where you like the fit? Because out of most of them, I'm like, Dave Yeager's an asshole, but maybe he gets results by being an asshole.
Good coach.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he's not. Jason Kidd, no, I don't want to see him as a head coach
How
again.
he's being talked about in the realm of he's like one of the top candidates for all of these jobs, and it blows my mind.
Is it just because he's Jason goddamn Kidd? Like, that's it, right?
Yeah. I've seen nothing coaching-wise that makes me believe that he will be able to guide a team to a championship or thereabouts. So I don't understand the Jason Kidd infatuation over there.
Yeah. The other one, Mike Budenholzer. Is this finals or when they say deep playoff run, is it finals or bust? And is it fair if it's and I'm painting up this kind of dream scenario? Is it fair to say finals or bust if, let's say, the Bucks go to the Eastern Conference Finals, they play either the Sixers or the Nets, and they lose in 7 games?
That would be a tough one. I think it depends on how they lose. If we see the same crux of Budenholzer every year in the playoffs where he doesn't make adjustments, where he keeps his regular season rotations, he doesn't force guys to play out and play through, 40, 42-minute runs. Like Giannis and his poor time for rest last year was a big discussion. It was the amount of time that Giannis was not on the court and when in crucial moments. They had interesting laps out there that was like, why are these guys getting 8 to 10 minutes? They should get 2. There's no and that's the thing. He always is a great regular season coach. But when it comes down to crunch time, I don't think he pushes his team hard enough. And I don't think he has the best rotations when it matters most. I don't know if it's just the flow of the game gets away from him and he's like, trust the plan. We've got this. We've done it so many times. We've prepared ourselves and this is just another day for us. Whereas a lot of other teams are like, this is playoff time. You're playing 45 minutes. You're playing 40, whatever minutes. Like the Tom Thibodeau approach of I will play my players until we win the game. That's the answer. Jesus. There's no minute restriction.
I hate that we're not going to be able to see Knicks Bucks in the playoffs because they're going to be 3-4.
My God.
Could you imagine if the 2 stubborn head coaches go battle in 1v1?
I mean, but here's the thing. We're talking about guys who perhaps have hit their cap in their city.
Yeah.
Budenholzer and Terry Stotts. We are known. We know what that feels like. We had a great coach in Tom Thibodeau who hit his cap in the city. There was nothing more that he was going to squeeze out of this team. And it's an awkward situation because I don't think that
I'm
were
just going to
better
say
off.
a Derrick Rose injury might have been a factor into that.
No, I'm saying like at the
Yeah.
time, like when we moved on from him,
There's nothing more he
it
could
was
do for Chicago.
that's my thought. It's like we hit our ceiling with him, and I don't know that putting him out there with the next 3 years roster, 4 years roster to keep him on our team would have paid off dividends that, you know, if it would have been worth it for us or for him. Because I mean, he might just be mentally like, I don't want to teach or I don't want to coach these fucking losers, whatever it is. Like if they're not trying, obviously we see that what happens up in Minnesota. My thought is like, we know what that feels like. And do you think that seeing that happen to us, would you take a team like Milwaukee or a team like the Blazers and be like, yeah, go ahead and get rid of your coach who is a guaranteed playoff guy every single year, who you know works with your stars, who they're happy working with? Like, would you be good moving on from that? Could you give them in all good advice? Like, I know this is not a professional answer, but like, from our experience with Chicago and watching what Tom has done with us and since us, could you recommend them moving on from guys who are guaranteed playoff coaches?
I mean,
with that rapport in the locker room.
I'm going to look up one thing. I need one little bit of research before I give my answer. And basically it reminds me, okay, he wasn't there long enough, Dave. He was fired for a different reason. Like the reason the guy I'm going to bring up was fired was because there was a certain name that became available. And this team's like, that's the guy that we need for this team. The only thing is who are you bringing in? And do you think this is like a Mark Jackson syndrome, to where like Mark Jackson, there weren't no problems with the Warriors. Semifinals his second year, they lost in the first round his last year. Yeah, it's a little bit of a regression, but nobody was like, wow, Mark Jackson's a terrible coach. Like, but people looked at it when they brought in Kerr and like, oh, that's great. That's going to be great for Steph Curry because the player Steve Kerr is. Like, if there's somebody out there that you feel like that's how we maximize this team, go ahead. Like, I want to lean towards the Blazers and say no, but at the same time, if there's a coach out there, like I think the Warriors at the time were in the same seeding position that they were in. They were not 1, 2, 3 where the Bucks were. They were lower on. Like with the Bucks, though, I look at it and go, even if you go to the conference finals and you lose, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, this is a guy where
Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday.
Yeah, but like just Giannis alone, like you have a top superstar. If your coach can't at least flirt with the finals with him, you got to get him out. Yeah, 2 times. You got to get him out. Like, the interesting thing for me, I can't wait to see the Eastern Conference playoffs. And the reason why I can't is because so the Bucks will probably have to play the Miami Heat in the first round.
Which is not
a cakewalk. Like, I would pick the Bucks to win, but it's not a cakewalk by any means.
Here's the thing. Miami's had their fucking number.
Yeah.
And that's
if Oladipo comes back healthy, like, they might be keeping him out now just to make sure he's healthy for these playoffs.
If I'm the Bucks, that is the matchup you don't want. That is the team that's like, there's no way that with the way Miami has played this year, like, that you should be afraid of them. But there's just something else about the way Miami can elevate their game and especially match Giannis. What they can do with Bam and what they can do with Jimmy and working on forcing bad passes. That team defense, moving everybody, switching everything in order to account for Giannis, that is nightmare situation.
I feel like I know your answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Yeah. If you're the Bucks, right now you've got the Hawks at 8.5 back. The Heat are a game behind them at 9.5. Celtics are a half a game behind the Heat. Out of those three, Hawks, Heat, Celtics, who would you ideally want to face in the first round if you're the Bucks? I feel like I know your answer.
Hawks, Heat, Celtics. Obviously, you would want to go up against a team like the Celtics.
That's who I thought you were going to say. I'm like, oh, this is an easy answer for Dave.
I did think about it. I gave it a pause.
It was between Hawks and Celtics, though.
It 100% was. Yeah. But Chris Middleton becomes another kind of monster when he faces the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
We know that. And I know what Drew Holiday can do, putting clamps on someone like Kemba Walker. Like,
JD's sitting there like, please don't let us play the Bucks again.
Look, it's. I'm not saying I think that one it would be the closest series because you end up with some really fun matchups, and obviously I hope Brown and Tatum 100% healthy for this. Like that is the big asterisk here. But watching Giannis drive to the paint time after time again, I think that will be the big question: is can they find a way to make other people beat them? I don't know if they can. I like that idea of that Bucks Celtics matchup. We've seen it a couple of years. It always delivers. It always delivers. So I'm all in on that. I think the Atlanta one would be kind of fun because Trae Young, Drew Holiday, watch that matchup, see if you can get the clamps on him, see if you can slow him down at all, or if he gets exposed. Like there's so much fun to that. But the Hawks have a hilarious amount of depth. They're the opposite of the fucking Celtics. The Hawks, like, we're just like 12 deep, and they've got shooters everywhere. Like I love what the Hawks do. So I would not do that. I would not favor them against the Bucks, but I would say their 3-point shooting scares me more than the overall team and Jason Tatum yet again in the playoffs, which don't know how many more extra gears that man has, but he's incredible.
Because like it's gonna be, we got to play out the rest of the season to see who the Bucks are going to play in the first round. But one thing I was gonna say is back to like why I feel the East is going to be interesting. Is let's say it's the playoffs like it's mapped out today. The Bucks then would have to go through Miami, then most likely go through the Nets unless, let's say, like the Pacers or Celtics or Hornets. It's the Nets. They'll play the Nets in the second round. Then probably the Sixers, unless like the Knicks get the better of them. Let's say Washington goes on a run. I'm really rooting for Washington.
They've been on a run.
The playoffs.
Like, let's go.
The reason I'm rooting for Washington is I really want that guy who placed that Vegas bet to fucking cash in on it. I would love if the Wizards hit the finals and won it.
That'd be insane.
But most likely Bucks, like as the playoffs started today, you're most likely going through Heat, Nets, Sixers just to get to the finals. Which is not an easy road. And it's like the Sixers, they've been a good team all year. But when the playoffs happen, what's going to happen? Are they going to be healthy? The Nets are also in that healthy category because once all three of them are there, I have no problems. But will all three of them be there?
Exodia.
Yeah, basically Exodia. And then like the Bucks, we've seen the Bucks crumble in the playoffs before. Like I am not high on the Bucks to get to the finals.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like it feels ridiculous to say it, but getting Drew Holiday was their all-in move. If their coach cannot figure out a way to utilize and evolve his game plans around having that incredible two-way player, I don't understand why he deserves to keep his job. You have the MVP, you have a defensive player of the year candidate, same guy. Then you have an all-NBA defender. You have Chris Middleton, who's Mr. 50, 40, 90. Like, I don't know what more they could do for him.
They tried to make all the moves this offseason. Even tried bringing in Bogdan, like, illegally.
Oh, my God.
They tried to bring him in illegally.
Hawks fans are roasting them every single post-game thread. A thank you, Milwaukee.
Could you imagine if they played the Hawks in the first round? Game 7, Bogdan 3, nails it, sends them home.
He would roast him. That's just what it would be. And that's
now I want to see it, Dave. Just Bogdan 3 in a Game 7 against the Bucks.
That'd bring a tear to my eye, man. That'd be great.
There's one that confuses me though on this list.
Yeah.
How is Nate on this list after one season? How? You hire him and then one season you're like, nope, not working. Like it's just not working after 1 year plan. We expect to be in the finals by now. Like what?
Well, what? Ricky, let's break it down.
Go ahead.
On the good.
Break it down for me.
I should say on the excuse side. TJ Warren's played 4 games. They were all last year.
Yeah.
He's out the rest of this year.
Bubble games, Dave.
No, this is he had 4.
You're talking about beginning of the season before the calendar year turned. Okay.
December. So he had 4 games in December, and that was it. And that was basically it for him. So their hottest scorer gone. Victor Oladipo played handful of games, wasn't right in any of them.
Yeah,
gone. Got Karis LeVert. Fortunately, or luckily, they found out during that trade. Obviously, his medical issue been treated. He's doing great now, but. This is a recent development. This has not been Karis all year. This is just Karis for a small piece of time. Domantas Sabonis, injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Turner, defensive stalwart, but also missed time consistently. Malcolm Brogdon's missed a chunk of time as well. Like, I think the problem with them is really their health has just not given them an opportunity to win. I mean, I was cracking up. I was watching the one guy I like on YouTube sometimes, Sporting Logically.
Yeah.
And he brought up, O'Shea Brissett, Jakar Sampson, and Ed Sumner have started games for you. Like, why are you concerned with your regular season record? What did you expect to happen when your roster is suffering with this many injuries? Obviously, Jeremy Lamb was another one he brought up. But I think those are all great excuses. The team has taken a step backwards this year. But the thing that concerns me is all the stuff coming in from the locker room side.
And that's so I have an article here. I'll interject. If CBS Sports wants to,
CBS Sports had one. I think The Athletic had one as well.
I mean, CBS Sports right now doesn't want to stay loaded for me half the time. Cool. But the article that they have says that Indiana Pacers coach Nate Bjorkgren, sorry, I'm fucking it up, future with the team is uncertain. Season destroyed by injuries. It ain't gonna load. Basically, locker room issues is what they're saying. Like, is this something to where it's like the team that he had coming in, it's completely different to where it's like it's a different locker room, therefore we need a new head coach. The players that we have now don't gel with the coach.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's the players gelling with coach. There's a lot of interesting speculation in the article that I had from The Athletic, and I'm like 99% sure it's The Athletic.
Yeah.
But it came down to like the fact that the leaders of this team, Domantas Sabonis and Malcolm Brogdon, both were not a fan of what he was preaching. I think that play style wise, things didn't gel. Defensive scheme wise, there was a lot of confusion. I guess he rotates between a couple of different schemes, and there's a lot of missed assignments. And the question is, with there being so many guys rotating through there, and they're still learning this defense in year one, it's not secondhand nature for them. So they have to think, which means there's another quarter second delay, half second delay before you make those movements. No wonder they let teams put up 150 on them. They're playing poor defense because they've got the leftover roster after the injuries, and then these guys don't know the defense down pat. So when he calls for different things to happen, it's not like equal exchange. It's not just like a back and forth thing. It's like, hang on one second. I think I need to be switching to him. Over there. Is that where I'm supposed to be right now? Like that shit. And
it's almost like learning a new skill.
Well, it is. 100% is. There's obviously going to be similarities from different defensive schemes back and forth, but like, I don't know that you can blame him for this. I think that it's part consequence of the team's health, but you have to look at the results at the same time and go, did you find a way to use Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner together? The answer, effectively, in my opinion, is not really.
Yeah.
In theory, if your best player is Domantas Sabonis, you need to build the team around him, a la the Joker. Like, you need to have guys who can athletic wings who can defend. And you would think that Miles Turner, as a switchable guy, could be that. And yet they seem to not be able to utilize him in a similar manner. I know Sabonis, since his own injury, has not been the same way either. Like, he had some phenomenal games to start the season, but like him, you have to get some semblance of defense out of. But then again, the spacing, the shooting, like everything around him, you need to really go all in if he is your guy. Otherwise, he's a empty stats, really good player. Like, he's not going to get you anywhere because of his deficiencies on the defense, his foot speed deficiencies. Like, he will get turned over on that side of the ball. So, like, I almost want to say it's part on Nate and it's part on, the front office for not making enough moves to put guys around him to succeed.
And that's why, for me, like, hearing you talk, like, I would be on the side of, out of all the coaches that we're going to talk about, he'd be the one where it's like, don't fire him yet. Like, I've always been, no matter who the coach is, even Billy Donovan, I haven't been happy. I have not been as the egghead. We compare him to Boylan already, David.
Are you going to give him a year? Because I think after about 4 games, we're like, this guy's a fucking stooge.
Yeah, like, my thought process on Donovan as a Bulls fan has changed since the beginning of the year when we were excited when he was hired, but I'm
Exactly
not
what I'm
calling for
saying.
him to get fired after year one. I want to see what this vision is. Do I think he's the coach? And Pacer fans could think the same way. Is Nate going to be the... Could you think that Nate is going to be the coach to bring you to the finals and say no to that, but still want to keep him for year two? Yes.
Yeah.
Because this Pacer team is not... They're not in the same situation the Bucks are. Hell, they're not even in the same situation the Blazers are. The Blazers have more upside than the Pacers, to where, like, when you talk about the defense, too, like, my thought process, if I was in the front office, if I was the GM, I would look at it and go, okay, I understand that they need to learn this. Let's give it another year. Like, don't ditch it right away because it's taking time to learn. Like, let's go ahead. Let's now build. We've got a draft and then free agency to help build this team. If guys are injured, let's try to get them out of here. Now, how are you going to trade people that are injured? No one's going to want
You're probably
injured
going to take
players.
a slight loss on that.
Yeah.
But, the interesting thing is, what is the one thing that you can say about watching the Pacers team this year? High effort guys are having incredibly successful years. Yeah. Guys like TJ McConnell, smart player, tons of effort.
Give him a Bulls jersey, Dave.
We've seen him have incredible performances this year, record-setting performances coming off the bench, and you have to appreciate that. The same thing goes for a guy like Doug McDermott. Same thing goes for a guy like O'Shea Brissett. Guys who bust their ass to keep working in the games. Those high-effort guys are thriving, and I wonder what that says about you as a coach when your best players, and Domantas Sabonis, again, I'm going to asterisk this all with injuries, Domantas Sabonis, Malcolm Brogdon, and Miles Turner. I'm putting Karis LeVert in his own category because of his situation, obviously.
Yeah, because that was like...
If healthy, he would be right there. Yeah. I mean, he could be their best player. Who knows? But, like, those three guys...
Because his was blood clotting, right? That's what it was? It was a blood clot that they found? Cancer, that was it. It was like a cyst. That's right. They found a cyst on him.
But like when your three top guys aren't thriving, and again, the whole idea, Nate is they kept talking about how Nate is a big analytics guy. He buys into, there's a mathematical reason or whatever why we're doing the things we're doing. And when your three best players aren't buying in, the question you have to ask yourself as a front office is, are these the right players for our team? They are. You have to make the call whether they're the right players for your team, or you think that you side with the players and move on from the coach. I think in today's NBA, it's so hard to side with a coach because players are
players' league.
It's a players-driven league. If they want out, they'll get out.
I'm going to put you in the shoes. Congratulations, Dave. You're now the GM of the Pacers. What do you do? Side with the Pacers? Do you side with the players or the coach?
This is going to hurt me. I'll side with Nate.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say.
If you twist my arm, I'll move on from Domantas Sabonis. I love Sabonis. My favorite fucking player in that draft class. I absolutely fucking adore him, and I think that in the right system, he can be a slightly less effective version of the Joker. Similar to Julius Randle, the outside shot. Obviously, Randle's progression has been insane, but what Sabonis can do is special.
Yeah.
But we're not building around him. That's clearly what's happened here. So we need to figure out what we are doing. Malcolm Brogdon, I don't think he's a lost cause as far as his injuries and as far as his attitude. Point guards are extremely hard to find. I don't know that we found one in Aaron Holiday, a guy who can be our star point guard of the future yet. I think he's still got a lot to learn. Karis, I've got no problem with. I love him. He's an inefficient shooter still, though. Like, he got to work on that shit. But yeah, if I had to move on from somebody, it would be Domantas Sabonis. It would be Miles Turner. I would try to obviously flip them for someone who is a better fit for this team moving forward. TJ Warren will be on the last year of his deal. So basically it's a tryout year for him. If he still has that magic, if he still has that shot, I'm cool with keeping a high volume score. It just depends on what the value will be of him by the middle of next year, kind of thing. Like, I'm cool with the teardown. I think this team is further away from a championship than they are closer to like a rebuild. Like, I think this is a team that's still trying to find what their core is. We joked about Chicago, the core four used to be our thing in Chicago. And then it became very quickly, it's Zach LaVine and Patrick Williams.
Yep.
And then it became, it's maybe Patrick Williams.
So I'm glad you brought up the Bulls, though, because I was going to say the same thing. Like, Pacer fans, that is your like direct comparison right now is year one. Like, of course, little differences. We like our front office is brand new, and like, but you bring in a head coach. Sometimes your team doesn't fit that, and you have to move on. You have to make moves that's going to help your coach win. Or like you said, Dave, are they so hard set on, no, Sabonis and Brogdon are the future. The coach needs to mesh with them. That's the decision that they're going to have to make. Like with me, it would be like, that's why it was for like, no, we're not trading Zach to, maybe we'll trade Zach. Like it's what happens. Like,
that's the thing that's nice with them. They're not in a situation where there's a max guy soaking up all their money. Mm-hmm. They've got reasonable deals. Miles Turner only making 18 mil the next 2 years, each year individually. And like Sabonis, same thing, 19 mil next couple of years. Brogdon, 21, 22 mil. Like nobody, even Karras, like they're all stuck in the middle. There's no one on this team getting hilariously overpaid. So they do have quite a bit of flexibility when it comes to making deals. And I think there are definitely pieces on this team that a lot of people love to have. Like Doug McDermott is going to be like a $12 million player next year.
If only he could have played like that when he was with us.
Well, some would say that he wasn't allowed to.
Yeah, some would say he wasn't allowed to.
But yeah, like that's the thing. This is a team. I'm not on the fire Nate train either.
I'm not.
I think there's a reason why he was so highly recruited out of that Raptors coaching staff.
Yeah.
And I would give him the time and I would buy into what he's trying to sell. I think by getting a coach and then not making him part of your plans, not letting him be part of the decision making as far as your roster.
Why would a new coach want to come into that? They'd be like, so what? You're going to use me for a year and then fire me?
Even if it's more than a year, like what is the point of that? And I think that's the frustration that a lot of people are seeing as well. It's like, why would you do that to him?
Yeah. The last two are easy. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on them.
Fire Luke Walton.
Luke Walton and Scotty Brooks should be already out. Like, okay, Luke Walton gone. Is Scotty Brooks saving his job?
Is Russell Westbrook saving Scott Brooks' job? There was again rumor out there that Scotty Brooks and Russell Westbrook are still tight, and that was one of the reasons why the Russell Westbrook trade happened to the Wizards
because he wanted Russ.
Because Russell Westbrook wanted to go work with Scotty Brooks, and he goes, I had a great time playing with this guy. He was obviously one of his favorite coaches, and he understands. I think they understand each other. And I think that there are like those unique situations where you just have a player and a coach who are a great tandem. I think James Harden and Mike D'Antoni are that kind of a pair, and I think Russell Westbrook and Scotty fucking Brooks are a great pairing. Scott Brooks isn't the genius. We all get that. He is a fucking idiot half the time.
Yeah.
But you know what? Russell Westbrook is a heart of the locker room kind of guy who will come in and he will cut the shit and just be like, I love what do you do here? Like, what's your role in this offense?
Yeah.
And this is the second time he's had to do it because his coaches didn't make it clear to these role players or any player what their job was. Like, I love the bluntness of Russ. And I think that he's an incredibly smart guy and he wants to make sure everything's accounted for. Everybody knows what they're doing. There's not a situation where people are assuming shit and then you get pissed at each other. Because obviously that's poor communication. And I think Russ is he's quite familiar with that with Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So I think he's trying to avoid that going forward. He learned his lessons. So I think that Russ is doing a damn good job trying to save Sky Brooks' job.
If you're the Wizards and you make the playoffs through the play-in tournament and lose to the Sixers, GM of the Wizards, Dave, do you fire Scotty Brooks even if they do that and fucking go all odds?
I would fire him.
I would too.
I know what I get with Scotty Brooks.
Would that piss off Russ though? Like, would you be to the point where it's like, fuck, now I'm gonna have a upset locker room because Russ is upset, or is it all right, we're trading Scotty Brooks now? We're cutting Scotty Brooks. I have to trade Russ.
Now you're thinking. Russ is coming off of his hottest season since his MVP.
You're thinking people might want him.
I'm thinking Russell Westbrook has salvaged his value again. He's back. He keeps doing it to us. How does he get away with it?
Just when we thought he was out, he pulls us back in.
Yup. He boomed me. You know, that's exactly what's going on here, Ricky. It is hilarious to think that every year we get clowned on, talking about best and worst contracts, and Russ got a bunch of shit. Chris Paul got a bunch of shit. It's like people think things are written in stone. I think Russell Westbrook, we've been watching a top 20 all-time talent for a while now, and what he's doing is not getting the same appreciation as it should because the championships aren't there. But that doesn't change the fact that he's a fucking monster on the court. Yeah. And I think that there are a lot of teams who would be interested in having a point guard who could do things like that. Like that.
Like the Bulls.
Someone would probably pay money to get him to town to try to win games.
Who would you trade? Who would you trade?
If he ends unhappy, there would be suitors out there who would take him. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm just saying that you move on from Scott Brooks because I think that he's holding back your young talent. I think that we have not seen Denny play like Denny outside of about 3 games this year. And I know he's injured now, but he literally was, held back. He was shackled down to the corner and told not to fucking dribble a basketball. It was ridiculous watching a player who was known for, hey, I have the ability to play make. I have the ability to ball handle a little bit, give my size an advantage, and let's use this. And nah, stay in the fucking corner. You're a chucker now. It's almost like he got, Davis Bertans confused with Denny Avdia. Hey, they're both tall Euro white guys. Just put them in the fucking corner and shoot. It frustrates the fuck out of me. Your guy, Rui, someone who was able to take over a scoring load last year because there was a void after Russell Westbrook. I thought he was going to be a dominant player this year. I really had high hopes. Troy Brown Jr., someone who the Bulls now have because of a trade. Another guy who never really found his role on that team. And it's just how many more young players are we going to watch fail to hit the ground running because of their coach? And I think that that's my frustration with Scotty Brooks. I think Scotty Brooks can coach a team of veterans, and he can do that well enough. He's a middle-of-the-pack guy when it comes to that. But you give him young talent, and we've not seen Dick get developed over there. And that is my frustration. I think that's why he has to go.
So you said somebody may want him on their team.
I'm saying there's a team that's so thirsty for a point guard who would overpay.
First, I got 2 questions with it. First, would Zach be involved in the deal? Or are we trying to keep Zach?
I think you try everything in the world to keep Zach.
All right.
Which means we would probably have to give up.
I got one, Dave. I got one without Zach in it. Thad Young, Al-Farouq Aminu, Lauri Markkanen in a sign-and trade, Kobe White after we take his option. And whatever picks you want to throw in.
I would say and
whatever picks you think are worthy. Because I'm pretty sure Kobe is that we just got to take his option for next year and boom. Where Markkanen is RFA, it would have to be sign and trade. Let's see. Yeah, Kobe is... That's weird. Kobe doesn't have... Yeah, that's weird. Kobe's option is until 22, 23, so I don't know why Trade NBA says his contract is over. But that's what I thought of. If we're trying to keep Zach, because and if you're Washington, why would you want Zach? Because would Zach and Beal work together? They're both 2 guards.
I mean, so is Kobe White, to be fair.
Shh, he's a point guard. Shh, Washington, you'll love him. But yeah, Luke Walton, he's gone. He's the only other one. Yeah, get rid of him. We've been saying this year after year.
Season.
I hate, Dave, that there are receipts of me defending this man. No, don't fire him. He's a good coach. He's not the worst coach in the league. There are receipts online, Dave, of me defending him.
I tried to tell you. And
I wanted to believe that he would be good, Dave. I wanted to believe.
Yeah.
I just wanted to believe. Dave, the other thing we'll move into, yet again, don't know, with some of these teams and when we get to the draft now of teams that'll probably be playoff teams, the sky is not the future for most of them because they're probably we're down to 3 teams left that could get the first overall pick. After a while, it's they're in the playoffs. This is where they're picking. Right. We'll do the Pacers. If you guys are new to what we do, we talk about possibility at 1, possibility in the top 4, and then where they sit. With the Pacers, it's either 12, 13, or 14, depending on if they get bumped. And if either right now the Spurs or the Grizzlies jump above them. Dave, the question that I ask always, if they're number 1 pick, is it Cade Cunningham? Cade Cunningham. If it's top 4, what are you thinking? 2, 3, 4. Like, who's the guy out of the top 4 that you think would help them the best?
Jalen Green still. I think that not only is he
your boy
a big board,
JG4,
just the most explosive player who has the highest upside in my mind. Dominant score, all 3 levels. Going to continue working on his game, his handle. Obviously, the defensive end will need some help, but not super concerned with that right now. He's going to walk into the league like a 20-point scorer. I can't be fucking more happy about what he could be. And I think on this team, he would be able to come in, and if they were looking for a fresh start, they're in a great shape. If they're looking to add in another scoring guard, because they're moving on from Lamb and Karras might be coming either at the 3 or he might be coming off the bench, whatever they want to do to make sure there's always a ball handler around. Don't care. JG4 is the guy. He absolutely, like, if you prioed my 1 or my 2 through 4, it would be Green, Suggs, Mobley, which is weird.
That is weird because I would feel like for me it would be Cade would be if they're number 1. Number 2, I think there would be yet again for me I think there'd be a serious debate between either JG4 or Mobley. Yeah. And then if you're 3, it's most likely like I would go Mobley over Suggs.
Now here's the question.
Yeah.
If you're taking Mobley, are you moving on from Turner?
Yes,
are you moving on
absolutely.
from Sabonis?
I'm moving on from one of them, most likely Turner. And the thing I like from the thing I'm focusing on with this pick, no matter where it is, except for like Cade and JG4, is defense. And the thing I love about Mobley, and I will preach this until the draft, not only is he good defensively, he's a big that can work in space. I love what he can do in the pick and roll as a big man. And I think that's going to, like, no matter where he goes, a coach should be able to use that in this version of the NBA. But, like, the only reason I would say that there's a debate between him and JG4, I agree, JG4 will probably be the higher scorer, maybe even the better overall player, which is why he'd probably win out. But it's, like you talked about when we were talking about Nate, how much does defense come into play? And with JG4, if you're moving on from Turner, what is Batazde? Is Gorga the guy you're going with? Is what I used to call him, Gorga Batazde.
See, that was the thing I was struggling when I was saying that out loud. I was like, what direction is this team taking?
Because their only bigs are Sabonis, Goga, and Turner right now.
Right. So it does lend itself to Mobley. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it should just be Mobley as a third overall.
We're so used to just take BPA, though.
Well, I mean, Mobley would be my BPA over Suggs.
Okay.
But I'm thinking Suggs because if you do have a true locker room divide and you need to move on from your point guard in Malcolm Brogdon, he's someone who Jalen Suggs could step in day 1, and I think he would be okay.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, you got a point. Yet again, this is if they're at, like, 2 or 3, which their odds are,
we're
like,
reading into whispers in that high lottery chance odds, or I should say tiny odds that they would get the top of the lottery.
If they're at 12, or right now that's where they would be, in my mind, there are 2 guys that I think about. So, like, Tankathon has just BPA. It'd be Book Knight. I don't know if I go Book Knight. He'd be good, but I don't think he hits the need of what this team needs. With me, I would either go, if Josh Giddey is on the GD board, I'd be like, just take him. Just take him. Sure. I don't care what Malcolm Brogdon thinks. He's the best player on the board. Otherwise, I would take a really good look at Jared Butler. Because it's like, then you don't have to move on from Brogdon, and Butler can come in and bring that defense that we said that they're lacking. But yet again, are they lacking it because of the system, or are they lacking it because they don't have players that can play good defense?
I mean, that's you bring up. Wouldn't you want a big? I mean, you have TJ McConnell playing excellent defense this year, coming off the bench for a steal of a cost.
Good point.
And I assume someone will give him a little more than $3.5 million coming into this next season.
Yeah,
so
TJ's up. They'll still have Holiday and Sumner on contract.
My guess is they're going to be looking for a, like you said, give me a defensive big. Who can do that for us out there? And I almost. What was that?
Would it be your boy Kai? Your boy Kai
No,
Jones?
I'm gonna surprise you.
Okay.
I think that, and again, this might be too high for him. but Usman Garaba is someone who is a defensive fucking like wizard. Like he is just an absolute fucking neck. He's 6'9", plays incredible defense. Offensive game still, a work in progress. But he's someone who might be a good pairing with Domantas Sabonis because he does have the ability to switch out. He can do a lot of things better on man than Miles Turner, where Miles Turner is a rim protector and a glass cleaner kind of guy.
Yeah.
Usman Garaba is someone who can play on-man defense on multiple guys, but he can also go up and get the rebounds. He can also affect shot trajectory. So, like, he's someone who gives you a little bit different dynamic. When we're just talking about a defensive big, there's different categories to that. So I would think he's someone who, again, might be a little high on a lot of people's boards. I think I've seen him falling all the way down to like 25 sometimes.
On Tankathon's big board, he's at 28.
Okay,
That's
so
the
yeah,
big
like
board,
that.
not the draft.
It might be high for him, but I think he's someone.
But that brings up though, if you target Garaba, is this like, are the Pacers in a trade down situation of like, hey, the guy we want is later on. I don't want to reach for him at 12. Could they be, if they're at 12, are they a candidate for somebody to move up and get a guy that they want?
I would be interested to see that, actually. It's been a while since we've seen, and a lot of people are talking about the fact that next year's, like the NFL, next year's draft picks will have more value because you will have better scouting, more time, in-person workouts, way more knowledge on. So you should consider moving back out of this group. And again, this is a team timeline. Don't think you guys are, in a situation where you're trying to squeeze the most out of the moment and compete for a ship. You're not. You can take a year back where you slide back in this draft and you get an additional pick next year. You could pick up a couple two. Well, it would probably take a pick and a player, or a pick or a player or a couple twos and a player. Like, it's gonna take a bit to go back that far, but I would like that situation for them.
Yeah.
And you might be like, why not just take BPA there? Is there someone else who, if you're trying to keep your core three together of Sabonis, Turner, and Brogdon, and maybe Karis LeVert, is there a guy who fits what you want there?
I mean,
I would keep the on a Jalen Johnson.
Do you think he falls that far? Do you think he falls out of the top 10? Like, what's your percentage of him falling out of the top 10?
About 70%.
Okay, so pretty high.
I'm pretty confident he'll fall out of the top 10. Again, the character concerns are there, but what he could be, he's very high on that. What you could be if you actually applied yourself as a tweener wing who has ball handling skills. If you get him fully engaged, fully on, like, he has a massive upside. So I think that would be fun. Like, he's someone you can take a shot at.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the good thing you brought up that I didn't even think about until we got to the NFL draft is scouting is different this year. Like, with all the COVID stuff still in effect, it's not like this is a normal year. And like for the Pacers, they could be in a weird situation of like, if you're going for big, it's like, all right, because now I'm looking at Tankathon's actual mock, and they actually have Garaba at 17, which is way higher than their big board. But like, are you reaching for a Garaba or a Kai Jones?
Is it really a reach? That's the question.
That's why I air quote it, because like
one GM fall in love, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's like on the NFL when Jake was like, he was pissed off about the Saints move, but then he was like, oh, well, the Bucks really wanted him, and the Bucks probably would have taken him. He wouldn't have been there when the Saints wanted him. So it's like, there's a little bit of that too, but it's like the Pacers could be in a situation to where it's like, we either go for, if let's say they're locked in on a big, we either go with him, even though technically on our big board and stuff, like his value is later, or it's do we just take the BPA guy? I don't care if he's a 1, a 2, a 3. We just go with the guy who's going to help our team, or do you go and trade back? Like, this is the first team I think we've talked about where I would seriously think about trading back, because like a James Bouknight, who like Tankathon has, he's good, but I don't think he like bends the needle for the Pacers.
No, I mean, wrong. I agree with you right now. I don't think that he is a game changer. And again, the question I keep asking is who is the future of the Pacers? Do you have a core guy on your team?
Dave comes back to who's your franchise player?
Yeah, literally.
Fuck it. Do you trade up? Do you trade up?
Plan is to build around Domantas Sabonis. Great. We have a plan now. We have a draft strategy. We can say we want to get defensive, tooly floor stretchers. I would take Franz Wagner here. I would love that. I think that he's someone who would excel in a situation playing around Domantas Sabonis. Yeah, they're both European players.
Yeah.
Does that matter? Not even a little bit, because I'm just looking for a tooly defensive player who can defend wings, who can knock down catch and shoots at a high clip, and who can ball handle, but it's not really his job. You know, he just needs to keep swinging the ball around. So, like, I think that would almost be an ideal fit for them. And he should be in that range. You know, I think some teams have cooled on him. I don't know that he's a lock top 10 anymore, but 50-50 odds he could be there at 12.
Could they be a trade up team? Because, like, I was just thinking, I'm like, yet again, like, the one thing that we haven't mentioned in all this is usually there is somebody that we think highly of. Last year it was Denny.
Yeah.
Last year was Denny that we thought, like, usually there's someone that we all think is like, oh, he's going to go top 5, and then he falls out of the top 10.
Tyrese Halliburton first.
Halliburton and Denny, they were both higher in ours than real life. And then there's always ones where it's like, how did that guy go that high? Onyeka for me was last year, where it's like, he could go 3, but really I had him at 9, and he went way higher than what I had. Like, could there be a situation where a Suggs falls, or a, like, to me, I'm looking at Jonathan Kuminga.
I was going to say the thing, Ricky.
Does he fall? And by fall, I mean, like, I got to meme it. First off, the Magic have to take him if he's there. Team length. But, like, even if the Magic don't like him, is that somebody from, like, the top 5 that the Pacers can go, he's better than what we're going to get here, let's trade up for him? And would it even be worth it as a Pacers fan to be like, no, don't give up picks next year and this year to move up for Kuminga, just stay put? Like, if you're a Pacer fan, what would you want?
If Kuminga's there at 5, like we assume he will be, I would be very intrigued. A move up to me would look like a deal where Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner both aren't part of your long-term plans, because Kuminga is a slasher. That man needs easy access to the paint, and Domantas Sabonis, maybe it's Sabonis who's gone then, because Turner can stretch. He's always the name who's on the way out, though, because a lot of people want to say that, you know, Sabonis is the better player, which I believe. But if you don't scheme to fit him, he's not going to be the better player. He's not going to win you games. Doesn't matter how good he is.
Yeah.
So I think that if you go with a Kuminga, it could mean Sabonis could be on the move shortly after. It doesn't have to go. I'm just saying ideal fit-wise, I could see that happen. And I would love the idea, because he's a raw talent who, yes, he needs time to develop, but he has the physical tools to be an absolute stud at the NBA level. So, like, he has confidence. He loves attacking the rim. And as he continues to, you know, work to develop his game, hey, he can work on his shot. He doesn't have to be, you know, Giannis-esque, where it's so one-dimensional that, you know, you'll get a 10-second window to take a fucking three-pointer because nobody thinks you can take it. He will get there. I love the idea about taking Kuminga there. I think that would be the one prospect. Like, obviously, you would trade up for Cade if there was a deal on the table. Same with Suggs. Same with same with Mobley. Same with Green. I think all three of those, no-brainer. Every team in the league should ask, what's the price?
Yeah.
Suggs is 50-50 if you think that he's worth it and he's got that incredible franchise-changing potential. But I think Kuminga is probably the one getting slept on because he had such a quick, like, shining spotlight on him. And that was gone because it was like, man, it's got inefficient as fuck sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't change his game, though. Gotta love the confidence. Been playing with NBA coaches the whole time, learning under them. You got to think that his development's advanced, and he's one of the younger players in his class, basically half a year or a full year younger than the other guys at the top of the draft.
It's like I'm gonna compare it to, like, what I said to Jake a lot as a joke during our NFL stuff. Is like, we're talking about pass rusher, and Jake goes, yeah, but his fundamental and his skills. And I go, yeah, but you see his size? Do you see his frame? Guess what? Enzo Amore taught me, you can't teach that. And, like, does Kuminga have the things that you can't teach that, but he doesn't have the things that, hey, I can fucking teach that. I can work with this guy. Also, just to give a little bit of a light here, because it would be the same area, even if they're moving up to trade to like 5 or 6 with a guy, in the Zion draft, the Zion Ja draft, we did have a similar move where Minnesota moved up to 6 with Philadelphia, or not with Philadelphia, with Phoenix. And all it took was they traded the 11th. So Phoenix got the 11th and Dario Saric for the 6th overall pick, which went to Minnesota.
So if they wanted to get 5 overall, I could easily see them moving a piece and the pick.
It's just
they've got, like I said, I just mentioned a bunch of their guys are on reasonable contracts for the next couple of years. Now, what does
Cleveland
a team like the Cavs or perhaps the Magic need? That's a better question, but yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, Miles Turner. Like, do you rate Miles Turner higher than Dario? Right? That's a dumb question. So it wouldn't be like Turner in your pick.
TJ Warren.
Potentially. He's contract year 2. So like it could just be something to where like a team, yet again, a team like Phoenix at that time, Dario, at the time they were like, oh, Dario can help us. We like our guy. They took Cam Johnson that year with the 11th pick. They weren't going to take Cam at 6. Minnesota obviously moving up for Jarrett Culver. Does a team like the Cavs feel like, go ahead.
What if it's the Warriors with the T-Wolves pick at 5?
And they trade for TJ Warren?
They can get
just to get fucking sharpshooter T probably?
Off the bat. I mean, they go TJ Warren. They could obviously ask for a Brogdon, which I don't think would happen. But like,
if healthy, is TJ Warren a better Kelly Oubre for that team?
Oh my god! Yes. Think about his shot.
Both former sons.
Think about that shot though. Like, oh my god!
I love that you brought that up. By the way,
think about it. T-Wolves lose, Warriors win, and the Pacers
move up.
Win.
I mean, like you said, he's making 12.9 next year, but like it's just 1 year. Like that's a Warrior thing. Like 1 year done. Okay, we're not married to you. If it doesn't work, you're done.
Or extension.
I really love that.
Like that way they got them locked up and they don't have to deal with contracts yet again. They could continue to fuck around with this idea. But like, I just love the idea of these are all guys. And again, I'm an outsider. I think you're either building this team around Sabonis and Brogdon. I don't love LeVert. I don't know whether it's his inefficiency. I love the guy, but I don't love his fit on this team or him being the number 1 on a team.
Yeah.
So like, if you got to go get a 2, go get a 2. If you want another 5, go get a 5. I don't care. Like, I think everything should be on the table for them. I don't know, and I'd love to hear from Pacer fans to hear what their plan is moving forward, because like it's so hard just watching their games and like reading these little bits of insights of clips of like, here's what's going on in the locker room, here's what players are saying. It's like, how much should we read into it?
And also they do have, I will put out the 54th pick and Mr. Irrelevant number 60. So like Tankathon has them going with Luke Garza and Oscar De Silva as second rounders. Is there any value?
Oscar been a fucking great shooter in college life, so like that's great for them.
Is there any value, or do you see any value with 54 and 60? Like, could they package them and move up to get like maybe top of the second round if someone falls into the second round?
Want that though?
I don't know. A
playoff
team.
There's stabs at the second round because right now the Raptors have a couple picks in the second round. The Pels have a couple picks.
You know who needs it? So they trade up with the Thunder for 30. So they trade up with the Thunder for 34, and then the Thunder will get 54 and 60. So the Thunder will have 54, 56, and 60. They'll just see all the picks. TTP, baby. TTP, baby. Trust the process.
I think when you're that late in the draft, you're taking a shot at someone who either an overseas player or someone who is a upperclassman or just a complete like toolsy athlete. Yeah. You know, they do have Cassius standing on the roster. He's an interesting athletic guy.
Yeah.
He's yet to prove he can play basketball. They have, oh God, what's his name? The point guard in quotes here, that we joked about coming out of college or coming out of high school.
Yeah.
They had Jalen Leck on this roster too. as a dead cap figure. I think he's gone. Like they just flat out cut him.
Yeah, after this year, he's got 1.5 of dead cap that's done at the end of this year.
Yeah, I mean, he was just athlete, couldn't play basketball.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem. So like they've taken a couple shots at these guys. That's why I'm like, would they do it again? Who in this class is that guy who's an athlete late in the second round who could be there?
Let's see.
Scotty Lewis is someone who I think qualifies as that. He's always known for his athleticism, not really a great player any portion of his game, just a good player. I think he's probably the guy I would pin for that. I'm trying to think of like an elite athlete who just lacks basketball skills. Oh, he'll be gone way before then. But the power forward from Texas,
Kai.
Nope, not Kai. The guy next to Kai, Greg Brown. Greg Brown. He'll probably be gone before him. But man, if they could get someone like that, just pure athlete, that man is a fucking machine. If you can teach him how to play the game of basketball, how to pass, that would be incredible. But I think that's the guy you'll probably go for that late.
Yeah, because like I'm looking at that range, and it's like, so if Johnny Juzang is there, but it's like
there's no way he'll still be there.
Is if he's there, like is he like that athlete type of player? Like Austin Reeves, I liked him in college, but he's more of like a shooter scorer than like a pure athlete. Yeah. I mean, I'll throw it out here. You mentioned Scotty Lewis, like at 54, 50, or at, I think it's 56. Do they take a swing at Ron Harper Jr.? He would be in that area. Like, yet again, and it depends on what they do with their first pick. Like, Luka Garza, I don't think would be the worst pick. I probably wouldn't make it, though. Yeah. Like, all the other guys are, like, obviously, like, Drew Timme isn't an athlete. No. You've got Marcus Zagorowski, who was the Creighton leading scorer. David Duke. Do they go with Isaiah Todd? Do they take Isaiah Todd later in the draft?
There's no way he's there that late, and that's a main thing.
Dave's like, the fact that he's 66 on this big board is
incredibly wrong. That should tell you that the board should not be trusted.
Yeah, I mean, yet again, now you probably have this guy higher, maybe you don't. Trenton Wofford, your boy from LSU. Like, if he's there at either of those second round picks,
dude. I mean, from one LSU pick to another, Sean's boy.
Yep.
I can't remember his name. Center, shoots threes on the T-Wolves.
On the T-Wolves, yeah, Naz Reid.
Sean's boy, Naz Reid.
I thought you were talking about currently. I'm like, Cam Thomas?
No, Cam Thomas.
And then you said center, and I was like, he's not a center.
No, I'm saying like Trenton Wofford is that guy who like clearly has holes in his game at the college level, but there's something there that is an elite level talent, and you can mold him to be amazing. I would absolutely love him. He oozes with potential for me. I think he's someone who the best is yet to come, kind of a thing.
One last guy I could see them. This would be a trade up in the second round for, or trade into to get it. Would Quentin Grimes be a trade up target? Either like a Grimes or a Nashawn Highland. Like, do those guys tickle the fancy of like that like athlete scorer that you're kind of like, you said athlete, I'm putting on scorer.
Yeah, maybe. I think Bones is better than Grimes, but like Grimes is someone who is one of the few players you can see. We've seen year over year production increases. He's gotten better. He's rounded out his game. It's such a weird draft position so far down because it's like these guys are unlikely to like be impact players year one.
They'll probably be G leaguers, right?
They're probably G leaguers, and they might get called up to help out. You know, obviously if injuries are still a problem. Oh man, this is such a tough situation.
Dave's like, I hate this. This is the one video that he hates.
No, Ricky, the problem is my big board versus other people's big boards. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I'm looking at
you. I would just go off your big board because BR Mel Kiper, Dave.
Looking at Tankathons, though, they've got Roko Perkichin at like 47. I'm like, that guy's got lottery talent.
Yeah, like, you're like, he's not going to be there at fucking 40, whatever.
No fucking way. But if I'm trying to find myself like a defensive big, like, or even a tweener, like someone who could fall in this year, Aaron Henry's one that I think if
From
you don't
Michigan.
get Wagner at 12
Mm-hmm.
and say he's either gone or whatever, you find someone better.
Yeah.
I think that Aaron Henry, not the same player, but I think he can do a lot of the same things for your team going forward. Smart kid. I like that as a potential take. And obviously, you got to give a shout to Soapy's boy. Fucking Ibu Danko Baji.
Yep.
Like, defensive center, 7'1". He's got big ass arms.
I do have to say the last video I was watching with you two, it wasn't the one you guys did on Monday. It was the one that I was like streaming for you guys. I could hear in Soapy's voice when you were like, "Yeah, Soap's your boy Luka Garza," and Soapy, I could hear, "My boy Luka Garza." And I was thinking, like, I think Dave is like, the joke is that Luka's my boy, but he's not.
The other one that I have to double check that this person's actually coming out.
But Baji is Soapy's boy.
I mean, that's one that's like, could you see that? Absolutely.
Development pick in the second round, like, why not? Second rounders are take the stabs. If you see the potential, take the stab. If he doesn't work out, who gives a shit? He's a second rounder.
Yeah. No, I will agree on that. And then, so my answer, the last guy in that second round, Tennessee player, V. Pons.
Okay.
If he kind of is that like toolsy, I don't say toolsy because he's good at nothing, but he's excellent at like a bunch of little things. I think he's older, but I think he's still raw. I think that could scare teams away from him. But watching the impact he could make on that Tennessee defense makes me hopeful for him playing above his size at the NBA. I'm not saying, he'll be, a top level guy out there, but I think he's someone who has a natural defensive knack and would be a great off the bench guy to play defense, multiple position defender, someone who has good feet. Yes, he's going to be 22 by the draft. Don't even care. You're drafting a bench guy at like 50 or 60, I think he's someone who, if you think you can work with him, I think that one would be a really, really good low-key pickup.
I'll throw out another guy for 60, only because, I don't think he'll be in the draft. I think he's just in the draft process to do the whole thing, and he'll be back in college next year. But if for some reason Kofi Coburn is dumb enough to sign an agent, and he's there at 60, take him.
Good shot.
Especially if you're going to keep Sabonis and get rid of Turner. Of course at 60 he's not going to step into the NBA and be your center. But and I say this with all due respect when I say if Kofi's dumb enough to enter the draft, because I feel like one more year in college would not only help Illinois, but would really help him as well and do dividends, not hurt. Like it kind of seems like it hurt Io, because Io was talked about in the lottery before he came back last season.
Really should have.
Although I love that Io came back. If he stays and he's there at 60, like, you can't teach that body. I can teach everything else. Even a year in the G League would be beneficial just having him.
Learn.
Yeah, I mean, yet again, like, it could be that situation, but everything I've seen from Kofi has been getting better every year.
Yeah.
And at 60, like you said, at 60, take the stab. If it doesn't work, it's the 60th pick. Who remembers a bust at the 60th pick? No one. Who remembers a bust at number 1? Everyone. Anthony Bennett. Say my name. But that is going to do it for MVP Sports today. Thank you guys for tuning in, checking us out. Remember, join the Discord. Link down below, our exclamation Discord into Twitch chat. You want to know something funny, by the way, while I do this outro?
Yeah.
I got 2 bottles of water before games live. I immediately chugged one, Dave. I took maybe one drink out of this one the rest of the time. I was like, oh man, I'm only have 1 water bottle for the whole show. But no, chugging that 1 water bottle was enough. If you want to support us, patreon.com/MVPvids or throw us a sub on Twitch. We're live every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. We're also on YouTube at MVP Sports. Rest of the schedule is Jake and I will be back tomorrow. Well, I'll be back with Jake tomorrow for MLB. And then, Dave, you're back on Friday. Hopefully, like, I love doing the show with you. I'm not saying this is like that I hate doing the show with you, because I love it.
Get me away from this dumb bitch.
but it was, I do. So I was asking Jake, I'm like, okay, for Friday, we're going to do NBA. I'm like, since Soaps is going to be on Wednesday again, I'm like, do you want to do a you and Dave, a me and Dave? Jake's like, let me get Dave. We could talk MVP. We could talk some awards. And I was like, good. Dave wants to talk MVP only with you, Jake. Only with you because of Joel MVP. Joel Hans MVP is what his name is, I believe. That's what Jake is going by now.
Jake would love that, and that's why I got to tell him why he's not going to get it.
Watch, Jake will be on the show Friday and go, I totally agree with you. Embiid's not going to win MVP.
There's no way Jake, as a Sixer homer, as hard as he is, will ever admit
that Jokic is going to win MVP.
Never going to do it.
How happy do you think Sean will be if Jokic wins MVP?
Sean will hold a fucking parade here.
In his honor.
Yep.
Bald head and all. Well, Buzzhead and all. Buzzhead and all. He joined the club finally. But that's going to do it for us. We'll be back tomorrow with some MVP with Jake and I. As always, have a good day, everybody.
WPN.